Hold on one second. I'm not seeing the... Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PASS Database Administration Virtual Group. My name is Julie Bloomquist, and I'm going to be working, we're going to have a lecture today by Toyab Ali on Azure Automation, I have to move my screen, your SQL agent in the cloud. PASS now has a career center. If you're looking for a position, please consider looking at the PASS careers. Get ready, get set. It's Summit 2018. It's coming up November 6th through the 9th in Seattle, Washington. There are discounts available. And if you use the discount code VGSTRKG0E, you'll receive a $150 discount, and you'll be able to access the 2017 sessions, summit sessions. And if a first-time summit person registers with our code, we'll be able to get a Visa gift card that we can then raffle off. We have a large number of PASS virtual chapters. Here's a listing of them. And all you would do is go to your PASS account and associate yourselves with a virtual chapter, and you'll get the meeting announcements. SQL Saturdays are one-day mini conferences. Here are the ones that are coming up in March and April. They usually have very low costs involved, just usually covering your lunch. Some of the SQL Saturdays are now having pre-conference day lectures as well. So you could visit sqlsaturday.com to register or to find out all the ones in your area. These are the different methods you could join a local chapter or the virtual chapters. There are many opportunities for volunteering with PASS, and PASS also gives out the Outstanding Volunteer Award. If you discovered us on YouTube and you are enjoying our recordings, we really would like you to visit the www.sqlpass.org and become a member. It's free, and you'll be able to download the supplemental materials and the scripts, the PowerPoints used by the individuals. Here are the other methods to connect with PASS. So Azure Automation, your SQL agent in the cloud. Toyab Ali is an accomplished technical leader with a proven record of success. His experience includes 3 major business sectors: financial industry, e-commerce, and healthcare. He is a Microsoft and MongoDB certified database professional with over 11 years of IT experience, both on-premise and cloud. Hands-on experience in managing large database projects, including large data migrations, complex process design, testing and deployment, performance tuning, long-term capacity planning. Toyab is currently working at GMO LLC as a lead DBA, focusing on automation, improving and streamlining the operational workflow, plan and prepare for cloud migration. He's a regular speaker at the local user groups and at the SQL Saturday events. Whoops. Where's the... And I'll switch that over to you as soon as I... Who's in the chat? It's odd. Okay, so Tyab, you should have control.
Thank
And
you,
I see
Julie.
your screen.
Thank you so much. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. The topic for our talk today is Azure Automation, your SQL agent in the cloud. And this is a slide a little bit about myself, but I'm mostly passionate about the third section of this slide is giving back to the community. So I'm organizer of any SQL user group. It's one of the largest user group in North America. I frequently speak at local user groups, SQL Saturdays, and virtual groups. I do answer questions in SQL help hashtag. So if you're not using Twitter, I would highly recommend you to explore this, because once you put a tweet with SQL help hashtag, a lot of MVPs and SQL experts, even from Microsoft, answer those questions for you for free. Another avenue is dba.stackexchange. I ask questions and also answer questions there. In Twitter, you cannot really ask a very broad question because of the character limitation. You cannot put your query or query plans in Twitter. You can do in a smaller scale, but in DBA Exchange, Stack Exchange, you can put your query plan, you can put your queries, and people like Brent Ozer and Paul White, Aaron Buttram, they will respond to your question without any charge. So I think it's a huge resource for us, and I highly encourage you to explore it. I do blog at sqlworldwide.com. So this is a picture from last year, MS Build conference in May 2017. And the gentleman he's speaking, he's actually the general manager for database systems at Microsoft. And as you see in the picture, they are announcing Azure SQL Database Managed Instance. So when I do this talk, I'm sure many of you might be thinking the managed instance is in a private preview. It should come as GA anytime, probably in March or in April. So why do we need this talk? Why do we need to use Azure Automation to do the stuff that we've been doing on-prem using SQL Agent? Because with managed instance, we're going to get SQL Agent. And I've been talking to a couple of folks at Microsoft. So managed instance is for folks, they have multiple database supporting a single application. You have cross-database join, you have link server, you have CLR code. But there will be many, many customers. They have a smaller application, single database. They don't need anything else. They don't need multiple databases to support application. They will be still using Azure SQL database. And even the price point, we don't know yet, but what I've been hearing, price point will be another issue, another factor that people would be considering going to Azure SQL database compared to a managed instance. And even if you don't need to manage components of SQL Server database, but you might have other resources in cloud, or if you're in a hybrid mode in cloud or on-prem or multiple cloud service, this will be very helpful for you to get a handle on to manage your resources going forward. So I just want to put that out at the beginning, because I'm sure somebody will have this question in their mind. So we're going to talk about, we'll briefly touch on why we'll be looking at Azure Automation. Why should you spend your time learning this service, and what are the benefits? And give you an overview what's involved in Azure Automation, what are the components that you need to put together to make it work for you. And at the heart of Azure Automation is a runbook. So we'll talk about in details what's a runbook, what are the components of a runbook, different type of runbooks, and why should you choose one upon other kind of runbook depending on your needs. And we'll be spending probably about 25 minutes at the end on demo on the portal, starting from a Hello World type of runbook to give you a few demos against Azure SQL database. And if time permits, we'll try to also show you a runbook against a VM. So a lot of people ask this question, okay, I come in the morning, I need to spin up my VM, do my work, I'm doing development work or test. When I'm leaving at 5 o'clock, I want to shut it down. So you only incur the cost for storage. Do I do it manually every day, or can I do it, can I schedule this? So even if I forget, I don't have to incur the charges. You might have dev teams in different time zone. You might have different requirements based on the days and times. So we can do that too. I have a demo for that. If time permits, we'll look at it. I will try to hold all the questions till we get to demo. The reason is because the demos are against Azure cloud. So there are some time lag. So once we run something to see the output, there'll be a few seconds. I can take questions during that time. So if you hold on to it, or you can just keep typing your questions, Julie will have those sorted out and ask me during the demo. That's the time I prefer to take questions. But if you have to have an answer in between, you want to stop, raise your hand, send it to Julie, and she'll stop me. So why Azure Automation? There are a few reasons. The first one is, of course, we can automate stuff, and by automating, we don't have to do the same task manually every time. So if we have a task that we have to perform frequently, it's time consuming, it's error prone, we can automate that. That will lower our cost, efficiency, and we can expect the same outcome every time. And if we deviate from that, we know that there's something that is wrong. The other great benefit is the integration, because a lot of companies moving to cloud, you cannot move to cloud in one day. It takes years to move everything to cloud. So most of the people that I'm talking about, or even in my company, we are in a hybrid situation. So we have stuff on-prem, we are slowly moving to cloud. So now you have a situation that you have to talk in between these two places. You have to talk in between your resources in cloud, also on-prem. You might have some stuff in Azure, you might have some stuff in AWS, and you want them to communicate. You want to manage those from one place. So for that kind of integration, Azure Automation is a perfect tool. Today, our focus will only be the resources in Azure, but I will put some links and resources that you can go beyond Azure, so you can have your runbooks run against the resources that are on-prem or in other cloud services. You can do configuration management. So this might not be directly related to database developers or DBAs, but if you're in a small shop that you are wearing many hats, you can use this. And Azure Automation comes with its own DSC pool server, and DSC, and when I say DSC, it's a desired state configuration. So you can configure how you want your VMs, how you want your resources to be configured. And if any time you see that your resources are deviating from what you configured, it can give you a feedback so you can track the changes. And you also have rich reporting of all your resources under a single subscription or multiple subscription. You can do discoveries using Azure Automation, so you can have a whole view of all of your resources that that are being used, not used, so you can retire those and save money. Also updates, so like patching and all that, you can manage via Azure Automation. So you can define your maintenance window, you can schedule your updates, the pool server is going to pull all the patches, and you can have exception list. Say you want to exclude couple of resources. People normally will go from dev, integration, UAT, and to production. You can have those exceptions built into your runbook while you are patching, and you can manage the resources a lot easier. Azure Automation can work against, we know that SQL Server now can run on Linux from 2017, and you can manage both Windows and Linux OS, and as I already talked about, hybrid cloud. So these are some of the common scenarios that I've been reading that people have been using. Automation, of course, the first one is, as the topic of our talk is, you can mimic many SQL agent functionality. You can build and deploy resources. So if you have your template done, you can embed that template in a runbook. Every time you need a server, you can use that template and use a runbook. So you will get the same machine with the same configuration every time you need one. Configure your VMs, monitor. You can also protect. So you can quarantine VMs if there is a security alert is raised from your resource, from your guest. So you can isolate that and protect your other resources from that vulnerability. You can also assign roles and like role-based access. So if you have different IDs, you want to assign resources, you want to revoke resources, you can all do those governing tasks using Azure Automation. Some of the components of Azure Automation. So first, it's a service. It's a software as a service, and there is a component of infrastructure as a service too, because when you run a runbook, you need resources, compute resources for those runbooks to run and do the operation against your resources. And for that, there are VMs that you don't have to worry about, but Microsoft manages those in their infrastructure to run all your runbooks. And at the heart of the Azure Automation is your runbook. So in Portal, from one page, and we'll see this when you go to demo, we can write and test, publish, schedule, also download from Microsoft and the community gallery sample runbooks all in one page. And it's called Runbook Editor. Pretty handy. Everything in one place, you don't have to go anywhere else. We talked about runbook. There are jobs, so you can schedule a runbook based on your requirement, and you can set up what kind of logging you want. You can go back and look at the logging and look at the history, look at it step by step, what happened, how much time it took, where it failed, and what their messages. There are webhooks you can create from your runbook. So webhooks are HTTP calls that you can use in your website, or you can use this in another resources to call your runbook. So just to give you an example, you can use webhooks to call a runbook from Visual Studio Team Services, from GitHub. If you have other applications, if you have other websites, you can embed those HTTP calls that will have all the variable values in the URL. And you also have the authentication details. So it's like you can consider this as a password included into that URL. So you don't have to even authenticate, or you don't have to pass anything. The webhook is going to have everything. You embed it in your application. It's going to call the runbook if there is a situation that matches the conditions. And other good part is you don't have to recreate assets that related to your runbook. And what I mean by that, say if you have connections, automation accounts, you can have those built in or created in one time, and you can share those resources across the board, means to different runbooks. And we'll see this when you go to the demo. What can you target with your runbook? You can definitely target any resources within Azure Cloud. If it's within your subscription, you don't have to do any extra step for authentication, but if it's in a different resource, you can take the ID and give that ID control role for that whole resource group, and we'll look at that. You can target other cloud services. You can target your on-prem stuff. And as I said before, you can control Windows or Linux hosts, so depending on if your SQL Server is running on Linux. So this is a picture I took from Books Online. I have the URL at the bottom. And if you look at this picture, I put a red square around this because that's the premise of our talk today. So those components live in cloud, but there are other ones that I just put in this picture. If you're interested, you can go and explore that how you can integrate this to your on-prem, to manage your on-prem resources. With a runbook, one thing is, once your runbook is in cloud, it cannot manage a local resources unless you pull that runbook on-prem. So there are hybrid runbook worker group. So you have to set up some VM. And once you want to run a runbook, it will get a copy of the runbook from cloud, run it against the local resource, and send you the results back. And even on your third-party external resources, there are API calls that you can tap into, and you can run your runbook against those resources. So I kind of made it a little bit bigger just to use, so you see what is within your cloud and what you can do with this. So we can call a runbook, as you see on the left side, from Azure Portal, from Webhook, and PowerShell. And if any of you are using Azure Alerts, so Azure Alerts is another service you can configure pretty much for any resources. We are all used to SQL Server alerts, like your disk free space go below a certain threshold, your CPU is consistently running at certain threshold, your database is offline, whatnot. We get alerts and we take action. Some are automated, some will probably call us, page us, and we will take action. It's a similar concept. In Azure Alert, you can have alerts directly calling a runbook and execute against certain resources if certain thresholds are matched or certain thresholds are exceeded. And that URL I gave at the bottom, it actually explains every step that you see with those green color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So of course, people might ask about the pricing. So if you just want to play with it, test it, you get 500 free job minutes. What I mean by that, so every runbook when it's running, you get charged by minute. Even if you schedule it, you get charged by minute. So your total minute of runtime of all the jobs, that's how you get charged. And as a rule of thumb, in US currency, it's about 2 cents per minute of job runtime. But you get 500 minutes for free at the beginning, then you start getting charges from your account. And if you are managing your resources like your VMs and other hosts, you also have a charge per node. And I put a link at the end. It will have the details costing. But initial setup, if you just today go and sign up for an Azure Automation account, and you just leave it there, there's zero cost to you till you get some runbooks written, start running, first 500 minute fee, then you get charged. There's no termination fee, pay only for what you use. So if you have wrote 10 runbooks, there's no charge. You're just running one, you just get charged for those minutes for that one. Availability. So Azure Automation till today is not available in every data center. And I also put a link here. As you can see, you will see for every region and every data center. I just put one here as an example for US and Canada. As you can see, in US, there are only now 3 data centers, and in Canada, there is only one that has the Azure Automation service. So now you might have the question that, okay, I have a resource in a different data center. How do I manage that? And that's very easy. You just, once you create this Azure Automation account, you have to take this account ID, go to your other data center, open the resource group, and give this ID control permission. Then you should be able to manage those resources in a different data center where Azure Automation service is not available. So we talked about runbook. There are, as of now, there were actually 6 different kind of runbooks, one they took out. So currently, if you go to the portal, you will see 5 different kind. But basically, there are 3 major categories. One is a graphical, one is pure PowerShell, and one is Python. On the graphical, you have 2 choices. One is both graphical and PowerShell, you have 2 flavors. One is purely PowerShell script, and even if you use the graphical one, behind the scene it's only using PowerShell. There's another one called PowerShell workflow. And PowerShell workflow, syntactically it looks like PowerShell. There are some differences, but it compiles into, they call XAML, Extensible Application Markup Language, under the hood. And workflow has a bunch of advantage. It can retain its state. So you can have different, like when you write like software, you have function calls. You can have different sections. If it fails in one place, it will keep that state. When you go and start next time, you can start from where it failed. It can call other runbooks, and it can go in parallel execution. So there are a bunch of advantages, and you'll see I add some resources so you can read. I also added 2 more slides to give you some idea about what is the advantage of using a workflow or just using a basic PowerShell runbook. And as you know, I'm not going to read this, but I just put this for your info. You will get a copy and you can see some of the advantages here, and in what cases you're going to use a workflow. So if it's a long-running task, you need checkpoints, you need to be restartable, task running on multiple devices, and you want to throttle, the resources or how, and you have connection pooling. In those situations, you are better off using a workflow than using a simple PowerShell runbook because you have more control on those, and it's a better experience. And I put some couple of examples that once you start getting, your hands start with runbook, that what you can tackle. These are very simple tasks that I wrote here, like what we do in our on-prem SQL Server. These are common tasks that a lot of people do. You purge your old data, update stats, statistics, index maintenance, and response to different incidents. So you can all take this and create a runbook. On Azure SQL database, so vertically scaled. This is a very common thing that people do, that my peak business hour is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever it is, or different season. If I'm in retail, I want to scale up on the weekends if I have a promotion, but then I want to scale back. And you can schedule all this using the runbook. You want to take a backup to blob storage, so you can take it and use it in somewhere else. You can do that. For disaster recovery, if you have to do some other stuff, say like you want to turn on few things when you fail over, fail back, you can do those there. Virtual machines I talked about, start, stop, backup, patch remediation. These are a couple of examples. Of course, it's not exhaustive, and there are thousands of things you can do. When you go to portal, I'll show you a thing called Runbook Gallery. So if you go to GitHub, you can see, you can search for Runbook Gallery, it will take you there. But you don't need to download, copy, and paste or upload into the portal. From portal, you can click a button, it will take you to gallery. You can search with a keyword for a runbook that you want to look at. You can download it in portal. You can edit it right there. Test, publish, schedule, all in there. You can also actually download PowerShell modules from the gallery directly to your Azure Automation account. So I also put a disclaimer here that if you download from the gallery, you should not be running these without reading the lines of code, understanding what it is doing, and definitely test. You don't want to run it in a production environment just by downloading. You never know what people put there. So that's why I just put that the last bullet in yellow color. So you're going to go to demo. Julie, any questions so far?
Yes, there were a couple of questions.
So I'll take one or two and
One,
then, yep.
sure. One is it possible to send automated emails from Azure? We have an automated email set up in our on-premise SQL database, and we're wondering if we can move them to Azure.
Yes, using Runbook, you should be able to send email directly to your whatever mail system you use with certain conditions, right? So you probably want to check first using T-SQL or WMI, whatever you need. Yes, you can do that.
Okay, and in an Azure SQL Elastic pool, I do not seem to be able to use sys.databases to loop through the online databases and apply an update or gather information across multiple databases. Does Azure provide something that overcomes the lack of the use statement to access sys.databases and SQL strips? She
I know
seems to have to connect.
I know keyword use doesn't work in Azure SQL database as of today. I did not understand the whole requirement. So if whoever asked that question, once I show you my contact, if they send me that, if I don't know the answer, I can find out and get back to them. So I'll hold off to the other questions. I'll give some more time for questions. So this is my portal. And before I do anything, I already staged a couple of things, but I don't want to get there right away. I want to show you how to create an automation account from scratch and create a runbook, run it, and then I'll go back to what I staged for the demo because I don't want to keep typing during the demo and waste your time. So this is the icon as you see for automation accounts. I click there. I say I want to create a new automation account. And I give it a name. I have two different subscriptions. So I'm just going to use my enterprise one. I'll create a new resource group. All the time, every time I do this kind of tasks, I prefer to create a new resource group because at the end of the demo, you don't have to go and delete every resource individually. You can just go and drop the resource group. That will drop everything. And we talked about before that how do you use your automation account in one data center or in one subscription to manage your stuff to a different resource group. So when we're going to create this, it will automatically create a run as account. And if we click here, it's just going to take us to Books Online. It will just tell us that it will create the automation accounts and how the automation account you can use to manage your stuff. And it creates a GUI. I'll show you that, and you can take that and give permission to your other resource groups. So once you create this, so if we go here, it's telling us that yeah, it already created the resource group. It's creating the accounts right now. So if we go to the resource, if we come here to the connections, you see this is actually a AD account in your Azure AD. You can take this ID and go to any resource group, doesn't matter if it's in this data center or in different data center, and give it a permission for the control role. That way you should be able to manage resources outside this resource group. So now we have this, and this is your run book. You will see, so some there, these will get created automatic as a sample, so you can start from here. There are some tutorial ones. I also put in a 400 page PDF link in the resource page. This has pretty much everything you can think of, from basic to moderate use of runbook. Now, this is the gallery that I was talking about. You can browse the gallery. And you can type here. You can choose what type you're looking for. These are written by Microsoft employees. These are from community, what kind, and there's PowerShell modules, and this is for runbook. Once you search, you can directly download from the gallery. So let's just create a runbook. So from this page, you can do pretty much everything you have to do with the runbook. You say create a runbook, and we give you a name. Let's give you a name now. Hello world, and let's create a workflow. Now you get a pane that will allow you to do your development and test. So I'm just gonna, this is very simple. I just have a parameter saying, hello world, it's false. If I don't do anything, it's just gonna print hello and then world. But if I say that it's true, and I want to say PC Linux. We can test from here. We can save and not publish if we are not done. If we are tested, it's successful, we can even publish, and then we can even schedule from here. Julie, any question there? We can take one.
Yes. Mark Freeman's asking, he's got understanding that there's a 3-hour limit for runtime of a run book, and it is stopped and automatically restarted. How can we handle longer running tasks like DBCC, CheckDB on large databases?
So was that using a workflow or just a regular PowerShell script? I don't know the answer right away. If you send me the question with the name, I will find out and I can get back to them. My inclination will be to use a workflow. It should not. I didn't know that the limitation also in workbook. I thought it's only in the regular PowerShell runbooks. Okay. So as you can see, it's just a simple runbook. It just printed this. It's not much useful, but I just want to show you the process. So I can now say publish, and it will publish. And from here, I can schedule it. I can create a webhook. I can go back and edit. I can even export it. So next, what I did, this is my Azure SQL server. I connected to it, and I'll give this a script so you can do what I'm doing. So I created this database. It's a basic edition, means the maximum size is 2 gig. It only cost me $5 for the whole month. I created a table. I inserted 10 rows. So I ran this up to here. As you can see, just to save some time, I ran this before. dbo.test runbook. Now what I did here, so now I'm going to go back to a different automation account where I wrote items I write, I downloaded from the gallery and I edited a bunch of workbooks for this demo to show you. Now, in Azure, your SQL Server is just a container, right? Your every database is by itself. It's not like an on-prem SQL instance. So with this, I still have to authenticate against SQL Server if I want to do something. And for that, as I was telling you, that you can have resources that created one time, and you should be able to use those for other runbooks. So I'll show you right here. So I created a runbook called count row. I'm sure you'll not write a runbook to count rows for every table, but just for demo purpose. So I'm going to start from a small and then build up from there. If we go to edit, and as you can see here, I kept it like this. So I downloaded it from System Center Automation team. They wrote this, and I modified it, for this demo. So this is our SQL Server, port number, database, table, and the SQL Server connection. Now, SQL Server connection is a resource that I created. It's pretty much a connection string. It has my username and my password. So it will grab the password from there, then it will try to connect, and if it passes, it will just go and say select count star from this table, and that's pretty much. So up to here, you can use this code pretty much everywhere you need to do anything against SQL Server, the top, and you can replace this with any complex T-SQL you have, and it should do, you should be able to extract any information from SQL Server database. Now, let's run this. I'm just expecting output of only 10 because I know that I started 10 rows, but I want to show you that how you can connect to database and run any T-SQL that you wish to run against a Azure SQL database with this demo. So while this is running, I'm going to go back here. So the next one I want to do is rebuild a index. So for demo purpose, we're going to create a table, and I'm just inserting 1,000 rows here. I'm just trying to save some time. By the time we get there, yeah, it's still trying. Okay, so we did that. Now if we go and see, the fragmentation is only 3+%. So I'm going to do update just for demo purpose again to make it look bad. And now if we go here, we see that the fragmentation is 43. And I'm not at all telling anybody that if you have an index, you have 43%, go and rebuild it. I'm not saying that. It's up to you how you manage depending on your environment. Okay, so it's completed. As you see, it says, we have 10 rows. So it's pretty simple one. On this one, this one is a little bit more complex. What this will do, it will go and look at my fragmentation %, and based on the value that I pass, again, I downloaded this and then I edited for my need. So I'm saying if any index fragmented over 20%, go and rebuild it in this database. And I hard-coded the table name here, just so I don't have to type it here. But if you have more tables, this code, you don't pass this, it will go through every one. It will save those table names, and it will go one by one and do those. So here I'm looking at for every table, and then here I'm going to go and do for each one. And I want to run this one from here because I want to show you that if I run it from here, it will run it as a job. And then later on, I can go back and look at the history of every step. If it fails, what the error message, how long it took, and everything. If I run it from a test, it doesn't save your output. I put a lot of the parameters as optional, so I don't have to type it, but you probably want to put those as a mandatory and fill those up when you are scheduling those. So right now it's running, and we'll go back and look at the, you can turn on the outputs. And then we should also be able to go and look at the logs once it's done. And we should see that the fragmentation should go down from 43 to significantly to a lower number. Julia, I'll take one or two questions and let this thing run.
Okay, so the previous question, let's see, was the 3-hour limit? Do we need to do CheckDB on Azure SQL? Sorry, I'm new to Azure.
I won't answer this question as a yes or no, because there are different thoughts. There are different views people have, and so I would definitely ask he or she to do some of their own research, and maybe reach out to, I don't know, probably to Microsoft for a recommendation. Yeah.
Okay, the other one is, are there any extra costs associated with running a workbook in one data center on a resource in another data center?
No, it still goes against the runtime. So if it's against a different data center, I'm sure, I haven't tested this, I'm doing all in one place. I don't know if this is going to be, if the same task is going to be longer because of the round trip and stuff, right? Like I'm using my personal account, I don't have Express route or anything. That's why these things are taking so long. If I was using my company account with my company resources, we have Express route to a couple of data centers, we'll probably see a lot less, runtime. So that can be a factor, but the cost can be more in that sense because it might take longer because then you are billed per minute.
Right, and it's going to the different location.
Correct.
Okay, that's all for questions.
So this one is done. As you can see, it came down from 43% to 0.7. And if I go here, see the logs is pretty verbose. So, this is my object ID. I can see the fragmentation was 43%. And, totally step-by-step log. You can go, and this log is saved. You can go and look at it later on too. So if we close this, and if we come here, it will show us all the runtime. Yeah, so we just ran it right now at 12:47.
I was going to say the weather, the changing weather, yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay.
What's the server name again?
Julie, are you asking me or?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was.
Okay. So the last demo I have is, and I'll go to my dashboard. Actually, I have two more. So as you can see from this code that I created this database with basic edition. And I also wrote a small PowerShell script just to show you. It says right here, that my edition is basic and tier basic. Now I want to scale this up to a S1, and this is my database right here. So I want to have a run book. I want to have a schedule that from Monday to Thursday or whatever it is, I want to scale this up to S1, and after that time I want to scale this down to basic again because I don't need that, because this is an off business hour for me. So how do we do that? So this is written by MVP. I believe he's in Norway. I had some email exchange with him because I had hard time to get the schedule correct with the time zone and stuff. So I did converse with him a few times. His name is right here. And again, same thing, you pass your variables, but I think the heart of this is your scaling schedule. And I'll show you how a schedule will look like in this. So the code basically goes and parse the current date time and check against your schedule and check your tier right now and see if you are already in the tier that you want to be in, then it doesn't do anything. But if you are in different tier, it will scale you up or scale you down. So if we do this, and I'll show you how. I'm just going to pass one parameter here. That's my schedule. And I don't know if I can slide this. So I'm going to bring it up here so you can see. So this is a schedule. It's saying weekday, Monday is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Start time 5, 6 to 2300. And I want it to be edition standard, TRS1. Doesn't matter the values, you can put anything you want. And that's what I want to do. And then I said start. And now it should be doing its work. And at the end, if we come here, we should be able to see that this basic will change to standard. Julie, any other questions so far?
Does the database remain live during the scaling up and scaling down?
Yes, it does. It does.
And that's all for
There
questions.
are some blogs, if you read, people have seen that connections dropping. And a lot of people will argue that your application should be able to handle those automatically. You shouldn't expose the error to the customer. You should have retry logic. And yeah, so there are numerous blogs you will see that people see those for a brief time that the connections drop. But if you have retry, it will go and it will connect again automatically. So as you can see here, it's it says right now here it's changing the tier, and it actually get bunch of PowerShell modules imported because I needed those to use in this runbook. So if we go here, you can see here that we moved to standard from S1, and we were on basic edition. So I'm going to close this. This still has to do some more stuff, but I'm not going to wait because we have seen what we wanted to see. I also have a graphical runbook, the last one. And before I kick that off, I'm just going to show you that I have a VM in this resource group name. And if we look at the status of this VM right now, it's deallocated, means this VM is in a stop state. And again, same concept. I could go and schedule this runbook right now to turn the VM on at certain time and then turn it off at certain time. So right now, I'm just going to, let me show you. It's a very simple 4-step graphical runbook. First 3 steps is pretty much authenticating, and then say start Azure VM, and this is also a PowerShell command. And if we go here, test, it will go and start it. This is my VM name, this is my resource group name. Okay, so I'll let this run, and we'll, because we only have 3 minutes, I'll show it if it finishes before that. Any other question, Julie?
Just one more. Can they automate the auto scaling process based on usage?
Based on usage, and on a VM or on a database? On a database. So on a database, it will be a DTU, and
on a VM.
On a VM, I don't know what criteria will be for usage, right? How would you define the usage? If you can define it, then yes, everything is possible. Like on an Azure database, it's a DTU, so you can, and there are monitors that you can use that how many DTUs are being used, and if you think that you are, getting to the peak, you want to go to a higher bracket to get more DTUs, yes, you can do that. So if you can define that condition and grab that, yes, then you can put this in the logic and do that.
That's all for the questions.
Yep, so right now if you see here, so our VM state was deallocated, and now the VM is running. And same way I can turn it off too. So let me go back to the slides. And I know some of the questions I didn't answer directly. If somebody wants to know more, they can definitely contact me, and I will get back. If I don't know, I'll find the answer. These are some resources that the deck you're going to get will have the URL to this. I also added a Pluralsight course. If you have MSDN account, you can get some free Pluralsight course time. And there is a particular course on Azure Automation, pretty good. There's a PDF book for 400 pages and a couple of other URLs. These are my contacts. You can tweet, LinkedIn, also email, whatever is easier for you. If you send me, I promise you'll get a response within 2 days for sure, if not later. If not earlier. And I thank you so much for spending your lunchtime and listening to this talk.
Thank you. That was quite interesting. I haven't gotten into Azure yet at work, but you have to know what's around the corner. So very good lecture. Appreciate your time on this. And this lecture was being recorded, and it will be posted to our archive page on the SQL DBA virtual chapter website. That should be up in the next few days. Thanks again for attending. We appreciate your time.